going even on.
Hey guys, I'm Carson.
And I'm Kennedy.
And welcome to Rescue Ranch. Here at Rescue Ranch, we believe learning, inspiration, hope, and exploration are the keys to enhance the human bond and respect with all animals. And believe me, we have lots of animals.
Lizards, birds, snakes,
Hedgehogs,
goats, and guinea pigs, rabbits, prairie dogs, geckos, chinchillas.
My favorite animal at Critter Camp is the bunnies.
The bunnies. My favorite animal at Rescue Ranch is Ivy. Ivy is a Flemish giant rabbit.
My favorite animal is Copper.
Copper, and he is a guinea pig. I don't get to meet giant lizards from Cuba very often.
We have tons of programs for all ages with animal interactions, science experiments, service projects, special speakers, and even birthday parties. All of them promoting compassion for animals and responsible pet ownership. The best way for us to learn is to get involved, and that can be a lot of fun, but sometimes it's a lot of work. We have cleaned the animals' enclosures.
They poop on their cages and we had to scrub it off, but it's hard to get off.
It's important because they want clean water and clean food and just a clean enclosure and a clean life.
It's not as bad as you would think.
Since 2012, Rescue Ranch has grown to one of the premier animal education centers of its kind, reaching thousands of children in North Carolina and beyond. And with your help, we're making the experience available to everyone with this incredible 10,000 square foot inclusive playground allowing children of all abilities to play together.
When I first saw the playground, I was really excited that there was a playground. So we don't only get to see the animals, we also get to play. There's swirly slides, and tall slides, and short slides, and bumpy slides.
Lots of stuff you wouldn't expect to see on a playground.
The first thing I saw and wanted to do was the zip line.
The zip line.
The zip line. I really like the zip line.
I went on the zip line first because it looked really, really cool.
The zip lines and the net and like the little swing that goes like side. The spinner thing? Yeah. Rescue Ranch has come a long way.
And we have a lot more planned, like nature hiking and walking education trails, a 24-hour emergency veterinary clinic, and a rescue foster adoption program.
Just remember, everything we've done and everything we will do is thanks to you.
Thank you for helping Rescue Ranch.
Thank you for helping Rescue Ranch.
Thank you for supporting Rescue Ranch. We can't do it without you.
We can't do it without you.
Please be generous. That's a wrap.
Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome. It's race number 11 of 12, season 15, here for the U.S. IndyCar League, and you're watching live on VirtualRacing.Network. So great to have you with us. Again, as always, my name is Trevor Greenfield, and I'll be with you all day today covering the action as we get set for another exciting battle. Today's race going to be at the Michigan International Speedway Classic 2-mile facility. This race, of course, as always, presented by Stick Quick. We'll get a chance to talk a little bit more about Stick Quick, but you just heard from our title sponsor for today's race, Rescue Ranch, operating out of North Carolina, and what a great organization it is. So great to be with you here as we are just about to get out there and get qualifying. Drivers are just settling into their cars, and that means we're going to send it down trackside and get you some information up there so you can watch along with us as we track these drivers and they get set for today's action. Now, of course, Michigan International Speedway, here as it appears, our information didn't hold from our last update, but we'll get that corrected. Michigan International Speedway, such a pivotal part of American open wheel racing. And who can forget the US 500 that was held here at the end of the 90s at the pinnacle of the kart era. And of course, always serving as juxtaposition to the Indianapolis 500, which of course will be visiting here on VirtualRacing.Network with the US IndyCar League for the final round of the season here next week for the Care Camps 250. So we've got a lot to talk about today as this championship is just starting to finish up. And we do have some points to go over. No big changes so far this week, but there is some interesting battles brewing, and that will be the sign of what is to come here for the next two races as drivers do try to sort this one out. But here's some great news for those of you who have been watching the US IndyCar League over the seasons. This driver right here on your screen, Howard Livingston, racing for the carecamps.org and the Coconut Castaways out of Summerlin Key, Florida. Of course, it's been a while, so maybe you might have forgotten about old Howard Livingston, but he slipped and kind of hurt his ankle, broke his foot rather, on a coconut as he was walking down his Paradise Boulevard in front of his house. And unfortunately, that took him out of action. But if you look what all that rest has done for him, he's back in the cockpit. And I didn't know that he was going to actually be out there racing today, but so great to have him back. And I know a lot of fans of Howard out there, very happy to see him. But here's the great news. He's at the top of the charts. Howard Livingston, fastest thus far with a 32.62 around this track. Just as soon as I say that, here's Jimmy Drennan, who's just managed to put his car fastest so far for today. And again, the time's starting to fall quickly. Why don't we go over and take a look at this driver, David Strid, who of course has the speed each and every week to take pole position. Will he be able to do it this week? Usually they're going to take it on the first lap. Now that does, it does, matter whether or not they get the first lap in the way that they want to get it. Maybe they had to back out a little bit, or perhaps if David feels as though there's an advantage to going slower on the first lap, well, then on the second lap might shoot for that pole position. You also see Ryan Bowles now jumping to the top of the charts, and there David Strid now taking provisional pole position for today's race. And as I was mentioning, this is a 2-mile track, lots of drafting to do. So be honest with you, although it is always great to get that bonus point for getting pole position, certainly, and then that gives you the advantage of starting at the front. There certainly is no problem with starting at the back of the pack here, and you can certainly work. You could even start from the pits. Unfortunately, I'm seeing that it looks like quite a few of our drivers might be making that decision, qualifying not really mattering so much. It looks like Mauro Ramirez, he told me just before the race that he's going to have an end-of-line penalty, so I don't think he's even going to attempt a lap. Iñigo Mardones and Don Reedy also not taking a lap thus far, and most of the regulars have been out there. So once again, great to have you with us here, VirtualRacing.Network, our ongoing coverage of the US IndyCar League. And we're now in round number 11 of 12, this being Michigan International Speedway, and so different than the tracks that we've been visiting. Little tracks, just very small tracks compared to this facility where you can get quite a run on that car in front. So let's go ahead and go over your starting lineup for today's race. This is how they'll roll off. It's going to be David Strid who will take pole position and will be starting first. Alongside him will be Ryan Bowles. And that is a great return to competitive form and great qualifying session, if I'm being quite honest, for Ryan Bowles getting up there to the front. So then going to be starting on the second row will be Jimmy Drennan, another fast driver who's yet to convert that into a race win. We'll see if he can do that today. Howard Livingston, a fantastic run there, getting 4th place, qualifying in his return to the cockpit. Graham Bunyan going to be starting on the 3rd row. He can certainly see the front from there. Dan Ensch going to be starting alongside Graham Bunyan in that 3rd row. 4th row will go to Rick Lovison and Dominic Hart. Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. Stickwick, going to be starting alongside his good friend Jason Lowe, but that doesn't mean he won't race him hard. Then going to be starting on our 6th row, Danny Alt and Will Stearns. As we turn the page, we actually get a little bit of time to talk about what's going on here, as opposed to when we're so rushed. We'll get to the points here in just a moment. Mike West going to be starting next to Don Reedy. And then our final row on the grid is going to be Mauro Ramirez, going to be next to Iñigo Mardones. So, Mauro now racing for Velocity Online Racing, if we can get that corrected. And there you can see David Strid as well at the front of the field, going to be starting right there next to Ryan Bowles. We get all that junk off the screen and get ready for today's action. If you're watching us over on YouTube, make sure to check in with us. Let us know where you're watching from and how it looks and how it sounds to you. If the engines are loud enough, if Trevor hasn't become too monotonous with his coverage. Oh my goodness. Well, we are set for some fun and high-flying action here today. These cars are absolutely made for this kind of racing, and we are going to be seeing speeds in excess of 230 miles per hour entering turn 1 and turn 3. As I mentioned, lots and lots of passing to be done here, and yet at the same time, a lot of these drivers are probably going to be looking forward to just sort of settling in, letting the race get underway and finding where they can slot in this field and just kind of work through that first stint, get the tires and the weight tracker, the anti-roll bar, everything all set just up in front so that you're set to go the whole race distance. And then it seems like you've got all that strategy all figured out, when you want to make your adjustments and when you want to make your green flag stops. Well, then a late caution may come out. Either way, we've got 95 laps to decide it. David Strid leads us down to the green flag, and we are underway in Michigan. Drivers already settling into position. Top 6 positions still remain exactly the same as they started. We see a little bit further back, Dominic Hart now moving forward 1 spot from where he started. And now you can see Ryan Bowles taking over that lead position from David Strid, but Strid very quick to challenge back. We're going to be seeing a lot of this. Who wants to control the front of this race? Who wants that clean air the most? Well, Strid and Bowles already arguing over that position, but once again, all the way back to 7th place. That's the first car that's changed positions. That's Dominic Hart, who's gained a spot over Rick Lovison, who momentarily was dropping out there. And then Jason Lowe already climbing a spot from that 10th place starting position. Will Stearns now up 2 positions from where he started. And last week's superstar, Don Reedy, already up a couple of positions there. You can see further back, Richard Kelbaugh, Iñigo Mardones, and Mauro Ramirez all kind of battling it out for that final position. But back up at the front, it is Ryan Bowles who now leads David Strid, and Strid now goes underneath in turn 3 and holds the position. So now starting to work on lap number 4, it's Bowles back to the front. So these drivers just exchanging positions here as now Jimmy Drennan looks on from the 3rd position. This is what he would be seeing over the top of his nose, past that front wing and that Trading Paints logo. So Strid and Bowles continue to dice while Drennan looks on, and that's Howard Livingston just behind. As I mentioned, everybody just starting to kind of settle in here. Very long race. Boy, these cars at full song echoing around this Michigan International Speedway. You could hear it for miles off in the distance. So we've got some battling a little bit further back. This looks like it's Will Stern starting to catch up, and we still have this 3 wide battle happening a little bit further back. This is Mike West and Danny Alt exchanging positions. Iñigo Mardones mixed up in this as well. So Danny Alt, Mike West battling it out there for 13th position. And now Iñigo Mardones pokes his nose up there and snatches the position from Danny Alt as well. So that moves Mardones up 3 spots. And so far, he and Don Reedy are your top climbers. Back up at the front, no change. These two still working it out side by side. But I tell you, another car that I'm seeing coming into this picture is none other than your championship points leader, Graham Bunyan. Bunyan well on his way to his 5th championship. In fact, it's pretty much a formality at this point, especially if he can take a top 10 finishing position today, which he may have already done. No, he has not done yet. So he's basically looking on from 5th and trying to decide, can I hold on for another 85 laps? As some of this craziness is starting to happen at the front between Strid and Bowles, who continue to swap positions. It looks like everybody else pretty well behaving themselves and settling in for the long run here. Once again, the tires may be a factor here today. We can get that information on the screen. There we go. The temperature's only 75 degrees, despite it being noon in the ambient, but 90 plus degrees Fahrenheit on the track. And it's not going to wear these tires too rapidly, but it will be a factor at the end of these very long green flag runs. So something to watch for as these drivers continue. So Ryan Bowles and David Strid continue side by side here. They don't seem to want to give up any inches at all, and both of them doing their best to try to cover each other and stay at the front of this race. Again, there is a little bit of an advantage to doing exactly that. If you manage to stay up there in the front like Ryan Bowles is now, this is just all clean air. So no aero push to affect your line. You can take the corner exactly how you'd like. And yet, if you're David Strid, well, in this case, David Strid's decided he's going to go by in turn 3. These drivers just continue to swap positions each and every lap. But if you're racing here as Ryan Bowles, which he was only for a minute behind, We'll look from David Strid's point of view as Ryan Bowles makes that pass into into 1. So as Strid comes down the track, he's going to start to feel the aero push from that car in front. It's very, very strong at these speeds. And so that will affect his car through the line, or through the corner, and will affect what his line is doing. And therefore, it will wear the tires differently than if he was out there in the front. So what you do as a driver is you adjust that weight jacker in the cockpit, or you adjust the anti-roll bars to try to compensate for that. You can get into trouble very, very quickly making those adjustments, but you do compensate for it in that way. And once you've compensated for it, well, then it's time to make a pass and go back the other direction. And that's why these drivers have their hands full all the time, having to adjust weight jackers, anti-roll bar, and their line to try to compensate for what the car is doing and the way that the tires are wearing. So back up at the front, it continues to be nose to tail now, but soon to be side by side. Ryan Bowles and David Strid. Nobody's decided to take over first position permanently. Jimmy Drennan hanging tight in third position, not really looking to race quite yet. Howard Livingston racing for that Care Camps organization, running currently in fourth. Graham Bunyan, David Strid's teammate, hanging on in fifth place. And now we got to drop a little bit further back. This is now 1.3 seconds back. We get to Dan Ensch. And Dan is battling with Dominic Hart. Hart, who's gained a couple of spots. Actually, you see Hart going by very, very quickly there, as I think we're seeing Dan have an issue and starting to drop back. He just, I don't know exactly what happened there, but it does seem like we can take a look back here just a second. We're going to look at this replay. But this was Hart making the pass on Ensch. It looks like Ensch takes a little bit of a high line through the corner. And then Hart kind of drifts up in front. I think we're maybe not quite seeing the end of this one yet. Unfortunately, not able to see the end of that replay, but Ensch struggling there, drifting back to ninth place, now shown behind Rick Lovison. And speaking of drivers making their way through the field, actually, this driver right here, Jason Lowe, don't forget about him. He's still championship contender as well. I was thinking that we might get a yellow flag by now and get a chance to go over those points, but have not thus far. Championship contention, though, for Jason Lowe. Well, he did set the fastest lap of the race last lap. But then, right after that, Dominic Hart set the fastest lap of the race again. So, these drivers now exchanging fast laps and trying to catch back up to the other cars up in front. And there you can see, that's exactly what Hart has managed to do with Jason Lowe in tow. Both of these drivers now basically starting to reel in over that entire 1.3 second gap that existed there. And now we've possibly got a problem with Mike West. I'm seeing that Mike West may have dropped off the track. And unfortunate for him, for sure. Apologize for the camera details there. But back up at the front, David Strid continues to lead alongside Ryan Bowles. No idea who's going to take the most led laps at the end of this one. Jimmy Drennan, though, hanging on in third. Howard Livingston in fourth. Graham Bunyan running in fifth. And you can see Dominic Hart and Jason Lowe have now emerged right there in that lead pack. Now, Jason Lowe, of course, racing for Rescue Ranch, the title sponsor of today's race, as he is every single week, trying to bring awareness to Rescue Ranch. As Jason, and we've talked to him previously about this, and we'll get a chance to talk with him a little bit more here, hopefully today. But you never know. If he doesn't finish on the podium, we may not get a chance to finish or to talk with him. But still, Jason Lowe kind of running a little bit of a rescue ranch himself there at his house frequently. Over the years, he's managed to have an adorable kitten or two dropped in his lap. And most recently, it was Jeep the kitten, who is doing just fine and well in the Lowe household. And so hopefully we'll get a chance to revisit that story. But that, of course, you can tell the heart runs very deep there with the Lowe family. And choosing to highlight the rescue ranch throughout the season, but also bring that awareness, which we were so great. It was so great that we had that chance to play that for you at the start of today's race. Back to the racing action, though. Just about to start lap number 24. It's David Strid and Ryan Bowles at the front of this one, swapping positions ever so carefully to not actually hit each other, but still give each other the ability to pass. And of course, there's just so much room to actually do that here at the Michigan International Speedway. Plenty of track width to get the job done, and now we're seeing that it looks like David Strid, first one to pull into the pits. Got to get that car slowed down to 60 miles per hour. So very slow after 230 plus. But Strid into the pits, and I'm also seeing that I believe Will Stearns also, and Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. Stickwick, also into the pits here. So getting their very first stint completed, and now we're just about to see Ryan Bowles head into the pits, and this is actually somewhat in line with what Dan Ensch was telling me before the race. He's saying 26 to possibly 31 laps. The pit-in is not so difficult this time out, as we see Jimmy Drennan take over the lead of the race. And by the way, this is a very crucial time for these drivers with the undercut-overcut strategy and the way that you come back out into the group. I think we may have had Don Reedy have an issue. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but it looks like he may have lost connection. Let's see if we can tell. In fact, it does appear as though Don has had a connection issue, so we'll continue to stay up and see if we can see if he's if he can manage to rejoin the race. In the meantime, as I mentioned, this incredibly important time to choose when you're going to come in and how you're going to go out. And again, very important, because if you come back out and you're not in that lead pack, well, you've got a lot of catching up to do. So it's always good to have a good drafting partner, as you see Howard Livingston, Mike West, Mauro Ramirez now making their way into the pits here. Mauro slides into his box up on those jacks, and we were just covering NASCAR racing the other night, and it's amazing how much faster the pit stops are here with the hydraulic jacks in IndyCar. It's straight up on the jacks, and no jackman to go around the car whatsoever. But here you can see the leader, Jimmy Drennan. Now pitting, and he does have Jason Lowe right alongside. Both these drivers getting safely into pit lane. So we watch these drivers heading down to their pit stalls for today's first pit stop. That's going to let Graham Bunyan take over the lead. So you talk about being able to stay out there a while. Here's lap 30. Graham Bunyan making his first pit stop with Dominic Hart in tow. So we still wait as Jason Lowe is the first one to make his pit stop, having made his pit stop. So watch for Lowe on the screen. You'll see the JL up there. It's the one to watch for. As we watch Graham Bunyan. Now, here's Ryan Bowles, who's actually managed to snag that lead away from Lowe as he came out of the pits. So Bowles now in control of this race. As you can see, Graham Bunyan and Hart now exiting the pits. So there's Bunyan just ahead, the blue car exiting the screen. There's Hart in your picture in the red car. So it looks like Hart will come back out in fourth. Fantastic set of pit stops for him. But how about Graham Bunyan, who went longer than anyone else and takes over the lead of the race after that series of green flag pit stops. So in case you were wondering if there was anything else that Graham Bunyan could do better than the rest of the drivers that he seems to meet every Sunday, pit stops is another one. And so give these drivers another thing to think about and go back and rewatch these replays, exactly how the master continues to put one over on him. But Graham Bunyan doing a fantastic pit stop right there. And we actually have a graphic that I'm going to try to put up on the screen here, and we'll see if we can figure out exactly where all of this came from. So if we're looking at our pit stop time, you can see it's pretty even amongst these competitors. Strid taking 11.9 seconds on pit road, so he was certainly the longest to stay in the pits that time as we watch this front group now continue nose to tail. But why don't we take a look at the overall pit lane time, and that's going to give you a better picture. So Graham Bunyan, 36.6 seconds, not the absolute fastest of the group, but faster than Ryan Bowles, faster than Jimmy Drennan and Howard Livingston, and certainly faster than Strid, who had to take that, possibly that repair. So you can see a number of other drivers having to take a little bit longer. So just that extra half a second to a second of time on pit road that Bunyan was able to save was enough to get him back out there in that lead. And that's why these pit ins and pit outs are always so absolutely crucial. So once again, you're watching live here at VirtualRacing.Network, our continuing coverage of the U.S. IndyCar League. We are under green flag, just starting lap number 36, and it's Ryan Bowles who's up a position into the lead. He's been swapping positions with David Strid most of the race, but David Strid just made his first pit stop along with the rest of the group, and Strid had to take some damage repair. That's allowed Bowles to be a little bit more vulnerable, and now we're looking at some drivers riding along behind who are not quite so willing to do that draft swapping. So you've got Jason Lowe racing for the title sponsor of today's race, Rescue Ranch, in tow. And we'll see whether or not he wants a shot at that lead. I think he'll try to get Rescue Ranch up there and get some glory minutes up there in the spotlight before too long. Dominic Hart in third, and now we have news that Don Reedy has jumped to the pits. So I think that Reedy did manage to get back in the race. Unfortunately, it's like he's sitting back in the pits now, and there he is on pit road. And there seems to be having some connection issues. So, but back up at the front, again, Bowles, Lowe, Hart, Drennan, and Bunyan, your top five. As these drivers continue to let it try to shake out. And again, who can forget Howard Livingston currently running in sixth place, as we see Graham Bunyan momentarily slipping under Jimmy Drennan just up in front. But Howard Livingston, anytime that we can get Howard Livingston into the cockpit, again, we are happy. And I know that he was in his latest Facebook post, he was posting that he got behind the wheel and it felt so good. And this is really the perfect track for Howard to maybe make his return to the cockpit. As you can imagine, you know, having a broken foot, you don't want to have to press down your foot too many times hard. And if you're going to do something like road course racing or short track racing, well, you got to put your foot down and take it off a whole bunch of times in a row, sometimes kind of fluttering your foot through the corner. But here at a track like Michigan International Speedway, it's pretty much right foot all the time. Right foot down all the time. Here's what Howard might be seeing from his cockpit, running around in that 6th position. Very similar to this. Perhaps, maybe this is right alongside of his visor here with our visor cam. You get a real sense of the vibrations that these virtual drivers have to endure behind the wheel of these Dallara IR-18 IndyCars. And you can see exactly how that aero push works with the car in front as Howard just trying to hang on to this pack here. And as he enters the corner, all that dirty air coming off those cars in front kind of forcing his car to go a little bit higher on the track. So Howard now drifting back about 0.7 of a second, but I don't think he'll be too concerned. If he wants, he can always try to turn up the wick, so to speak, and possibly put it into a higher fuel map. Here's David Strid and Mike West, two teammates who are trying to work together to get back up to this lead group. And right now it's about 1.2 seconds up to Howard Livingston, and it does seem to be closing rather quickly. So we do look for David Strid and Mike West to return back up to this group, and that would be quite a great feat for David Strid, who did have to take a little bit of extra repair and extra time on pit road, but with the aid of the draft, looks like he's going to be able to haul in that group. Now, here's another driver that unfortunately we don't get to cover all that often. He's usually kind of running in that 5th, 6th, 7th position, but Rick Lovison out here in his beautiful Berkshire Lodge, Lakeside Lodge, and you got to get the sunlight just perfect on it, but that great full color livery of the place where Rick looks after anybody over in Massachusetts that wants to get out there and see some nature and get by the Lakeside Lodge. I'd sure love to head on over there, but in the meantime, Rick's just kind of running his own race back here in 9th. If he could have stayed up with Mike West, who's kind of drifted off into the distance there, maybe he'll get another chance at a restart, but it's going to have to wait for somebody to come falling off of that group up in front, because Mike West now 2 full seconds up in front, and that's going to be too much to catch with just the draft. So back up in front, this is the battle that continues to rage on. All these drivers just kind of sitting nose to tail, waiting for either an opportunity or one of them to crack. But it's Ryan Bowles, Jason Lowe, Jimmy Drennan, top 3 with Graham Bunyan, Dominic Hart, Howard Livingston, and now David Strid and Mike West, part of this front group. So I guess the question is, how aggressive does Strid get once he hits the back end of this group? Well, we're going to find out momentarily. Absolutely beautiful sights and sounds here at the Michigan International Speedway. This is the legacy version of Michigan. And these drivers piloting these machines at over 220, over 230 miles per hour into the corners, having to stay right on that edge of adhesion and pay attention to all those little details, making sure that they're not taking too aggressive of a line, entering mid-corner, exit. They're watching that car up in front, that they don't get too much aero push and drift up into the next car or drift up into the wall. And certainly, you can't forget about what lap it's on. You've got a certain strategy that you have to enact, whether it's to pit early, pit late. Pretty much always have to watch out. But we do have a caution on the track, and it's for Will Stearns. And I'm not sure if Richard Kelbaugh was part of that. We're going to take a look here at the replay and take a look. This is Will Stearns. And he looks like he just kind of loses it by himself. Mid-corner, spins, and that brings out our caution, as he might have been in the path of the leaders. So I did see Richard Kelbaugh head into the pits, though. Let's take a look and see if we can tell what exactly happened there, because it didn't look like Kelbaugh wanted to come into the pits, or maybe he was slowing down. So he did safely get in. It just sort of, it seemed like he came in right after that incident, so I wasn't sure exactly why he was coming in. But as these drivers now head around, why don't we go ahead and do our version of paying some bills here, and we'll talk about possibly the greatest device that you have never heard of. No, come on, you've been watching the US IndyCar League here for many seasons, so you probably heard of it, but maybe you don't own one yet. Well, it's officially time as we now watch these pit stops happening on screen. Some of our leaders coming down, Jimmy Drennan choosing to stay out over everybody else. But what is this device on screen right here? Well, it's the device that will change your life. The handy organizational tool that you need in your house, in your shop, at your work, in your car. You can use it everywhere. And you can use it with just about every small thing, like these things, these tools that you have out there at your tool shed for gardening. You got stuff in your car like your vape pens and your vape cartridges. You got stuff in your medicine cabinet like nail polish and all kinds of little utensils. Here, how about this? You're a teacher at school, or you do a lot of work with different writing instruments. You want to keep them all handy and ready to go. Here's your flashlight on the edge of your shelf, just waiting for you to grab it whenever it turns dark, whenever you need it. All of these uses and many more use cases can be found right over at stickquick.com. But the simple matter is that these are silicone rings. They're heavy duty, UV resistant and chemical resistant. And so they're perfect for your shop and for anything else that you have in mind. And they'll be long lasting. 6 of them come in a package. You can get multiple different colors. Certainly, if you like bright colors or if you like black, you are in for a treat. Here you go. You got black, green, yellow, blue, red, and orange. And so get yours today. I got green because, well, matches my name, but certainly I race with green. My car in real life is green. I like forests and I like grass. That's green. So I choose green, but maybe yellow is your color. Maybe you like the sun and all kinds of other things that are yellow. Hey, whatever. You like multiple colors? Get 4 or 5. There's no limit. Buy a dozen. Give them to your friends and family for holidays, and they will thank you. The US IndyCar League will thank you, and certainly StickQuick will thank you. Get much more information and buy yours today at stickquick.com. StickQuick, proud presenting sponsor of the US IndyCar League for multiple seasons running. And I should point that out if you're listening right now and if you care. First of all, thank you once again for everybody who's joining us over on YouTube. Make sure to say hello. Let us know where you're racing and watching the racing from, I should say. Always great to have fans from all over the world joining in for these US IndyCar League races. Every morning, or every Sunday morning rather, 10 o'clock Eastern time. You'll catch us right here on VirtualRacing.Network. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. You'll get lots more racing action here, as well as obviously any of the other series or one-off races that we cover here on VirtualRacing.Network. And as well, you can go back in our history here and pull it up, and you'll be able to see all of the past races that we've covered here since season 10. So binge watch away after this race. We're coming back to green, and it's Jimmy Drennan who's going to lead us on lap number 53. He's got Ryan Bowles just behind, Jason Lowe, David Stridd, and Howard Livingston. That's your top 5 restarting. Going to be stretched out just a little bit here, but everything will catch back up in just a moment. As these drivers refine where they want to run and how they want to run, and with this yellow flag coming out, it's going to change some things in terms of strategies. So we see now David Stridd hop up into that 3rd spot. When we look a little bit further back, it looked like Mike West having some moments of blinking there. I'm not sure. He might be having some technical difficulties as well. But up at the front, Ryan Bowles didn't want to be held back for very long. You saw it just off camera there. Bowles retaking the lead here on lap number 54. Just over halfway, staring down the last half of what should be a very exciting race when these drivers do finally take off all of the limitations and decide to go for that race victory. But we're seeing the early stages of that now, as drivers have now made their second to last stop. They're going to be calculating how many laps they can go. But we can see Jason Lowe now in that 4th spot, up 6 positions so far today, hanging tight and just behind David Stridd. So these drivers, of course, as I mentioned, racing at over 230 miles an hour into the corners. Here you can watch that speed build from on board with the 004 Rescue Ranch machine of Jason Lowe. 212, 215, 222 miles per hour. Before we even hit the start-finish line, we're already at 224 miles per hour. And in that draft, catching a little bit more draft, you're going to be headed over 230 miles an hour headed into the corner. One of the absolute fastest tracks that the IndyCars have ever raced on. In fact, I would say in the modern era, you'd be very hard-pressed to find another track with more speed capability. As we see now David Stridd poke his nose back up there into that lead, and now Bowles is retaking that lead, but Stridd was not done having that clean air. He got set back early on and had to take some damage repair during the first round of cautions, but he's charged back, and nobody can stop Stridd here at Michigan International Speedway. He's come right back to the front. So you can see this side-by-side battle happening at over 220 miles an hour as these drivers simply exchange position and they make it easy for each other. They basically understand this is just sort of a game. It's one of those interesting games within a game, if I could say it that way, or maybe it's a game within a game within a game, because you have so many different levels of strategy that are working, but you know, even if these drivers aren't communicating, I can tell you that if you run at the front for long enough in these races, you start to settle down and you start to see that the race is not really won or lost until the final few laps. And so there is a certain amount of give or take that you can do. And just because swapping position at the final lap of the race might mean a race win and might mean extra points, when you're still working to get to the final lap, well, that's the time when discretion, better part of valor, A, and B, you realize that perhaps swapping position with another driver out there continually is more advantageous than not. So trying to hang out in second position, maybe that's not where your car wants to run. Now we see that Jimmy Drennan has pulled his car into the pits. And so the 99 going to be taking on fuel and service here. That's going to set him up very interestingly for the end of this race. That might be the undercut call of the race, but we'll have to see how it all plays out with yellows and whether he can manage to hold on. I think some drivers going to be taking a look at that and trying to decide whether or not it's worth it to come in early or not and get that last pit stop done. But this is all part of that strategy within a strategy within a strategy, and that's what I'm trying to say is you may have your own fuel and pit strategy all figured out, tire strategy all figured out, the way that you're going to win this race, the way that you're going to get up to the front and pass people on the last lap, but at the same time, how are you going to manage lap after lap after lap where somebody wants to pass you? Well, you work out kind of a system at the front, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes drivers who maybe don't even speak the same language as you, there's no way for you to necessarily communicate over iRacing, hey, let's work together, let's draft swap, something like that. But when you know, when you've been up at the front enough, you just know that that's the right thing to do. And sometimes you can just feel it with the car that that's the right thing to do. Let the car just kind of drift through the mid corner. It's easier on the tires, and let somebody make the pass entering the corner. It's that simple. Then you get the run coming off of the corner, and we see Mike West perhaps having an issue pulling to the inside back there. I think maybe just deciding to drop to the inside. Is he going to try to make an early pit stop, or is he just trying to hang back and perhaps save fuel here? It's a very possible story, as West might be doing some calculations, trying to decide exactly when he wants to make that final pit stop. But up in front, it's Bowles, Strid, Lowe, Bunyan, and Livingston, your top five. Will Stern still sits in the pits. We've got some jockeying back here for position. I'm seeing that Iñigo Mardones having a moment here. Let's see if we can figure out exactly what happened here. We're going to step back and take a look. This was moments ago. We see Dominic Hart, and there is Iñigo Mardones. Wow, what an amazing recovery by Mardones. I think we should see that one just one more time if we can. Switch back to Mardones. Let's watch this from on board live here. If we can ever get to the cockpit camera. There we go. Watch some control here from Iñigo Mardones. Gets it so sideways. I've never seen a car that sideways headed for an inside wall and get it back together again. So kudos to Iñigo getting that one back together and underway, racing for the Necky Racing team. So Iñigo up 4 spots from where he started, now running back in 12th. And other news, I believe, Manuel Gomez Esteban, for our Spanish fans out there. Manuel Gomez Esteban not able to make it into today's race. He did send his best wishes to all of the viewers and the rest of the competitors, but he is off on vacation to a beautiful beach in the northwest of Spain. And I'm sure he misses his ride in the cockpit here in the U.S. IndyCar League, but I think he's also probably enjoying some sand beneath and through his finger and his toes, and some cool adult beverages in his grasp. Nevertheless, these drivers, they know what's at stake, and we're coming down to the last race here after this one as we see Ryan Bowles and Jason Lowe make their pit stops. Lowe so late on to pit lane. That was phenomenal. Jason Lowe just getting around Ryan Bowles. We've got to see that one again. Let's watch this one from on board with Jason Lowe as we can see Bowles signaling. He's going to come into the pits, taking a little bit of a conservative line coming in. And that gives Jason Lowe the chance to get onto pit lane. Now, question is, if we take a look at Lowe, is he out and away? He is out and away, so no speeding penalty, and you can just see the gap back to Ryan Bowles. So a much, much better job of pitting there by Lowe, and Lowe now going to come out just behind Graham Bunyan. So Bunyan yet to make his pit stop, and Lowe going to try to pull a draft on Bunyan. This will actually help Lowe, but Bunyan deciding he's going to make that pit stop. He makes quite a late pit stop himself, so now it's a showdown to see who can do the best pit stop here for their final stop, as this may give the win to either one of these drivers, potentially. We're now looking on with Howard Livingston, who takes over the lead of the race. Get that track map back up there so you can pay attention as you see Bunyan there in the pits. And there's Livingston headed into the pits as well, smoking those Firestone tires as he gets down to the pit speed limit. So slow and takes so long to get down the track. Mike West taking over the lead, but gets sideways there on the back straight. Or perhaps he was just signaling. Possibly was just signaling that he's headed into the pits to Jason Bowles, to Ryan Bowles, who was just behind. And there, West pulls it down safely. Again, a little bit of a conservative job pulling down. Rick Lovison now pitting from third. So once again, Rick having a good run today. Here's Jimmy Drennan. He emerges back out in 11th position. And now we take a look at Dan Ensch, who's just behind, racing for, of course, Alzheimer's organization, Last Lap Motorsports. Ensch now taking over the lead momentarily. We're going to see if we can get him and Mara Ramirez in the pits momentarily. But tell you what, Morrow continuing. MJ doing a great job out there, keeping that car on track and doing what he needs to do here today to keep up in the lead. And so Ensch pitting, currently in the pits, and he'll get eclipsed. But as we look back, look who's battling for the virtual control of this race. It's none other than the biggest nemesis rivalry between two drivers in the U.S. IndyCar League. It's Jason Lowe and the 004 Rescue Ranch Machine. We've got one driver who's had an issue. I believe that's Richard Kelbaugh. No, sorry, is that in fact... I want to say that's Rick Lovison. In fact, that is Rick Lovison. And I'm not exactly sure. We can maybe back it up here just for a second and see if we can tell exactly what took place with Lovison. But he was just coming out of the pits. And you can see there, it looks like he just got a bad exit. Oh, he drifted up the line a little bit onto that apron. Sent him right around, and he got control back of the vehicle. But in the meantime, we do have MJ Ramirez. Morrow has pulled it into the pits for his final stop. And now Bunyan and Lowe with Strid in tow there in third. Dominic Hart in fourth. He's climbed back into this mix. And Ryan Bowles in fifth. That's your top five at the moment. Howard Livingston holding on in sixth place back there. But right now, with 17 laps remaining, we are looking at a potential shootout for the win here tonight. We'll see whether or not this one holds out, as drivers are starting to get a little crazy. David Strid now marches from third to first in the span of about 200 yards. So Strid back up into the lead. Bunyan now dives to the low side on Strid. He says, I want control. Let's do some draft swapping here. We can both make it to the end and try and keep that pesky Jason Lowe of the Rescue Ranch at bay. So just how close are the points? Well, I promise we won't take up too much room on the screen, but we got to look at it before it's no longer relevant. There it is, Graham Bunyan, your current points leader by a sizable margin. He's going to take the season 15 crown for sure, but Jason Lowe and David Strid battling for position and for a potential second place in that championship. Dan Ensch very close to that conversation, as is Mike West. And then you see that really strong battle there from sixth place on back. Multiple drivers very capable of reaching up there and taking that sixth position away from Richard Kelbaugh. But you see what there is still to play for and why these drivers are fighting so hard here today. It's Graham Bunyan, David Strid fighting it out for first. But Jason Lowe and Dominic Hart sitting in third and fourth spot, and they will have something to say about this before the end. Mark my words. As they race under Barney the Flag Man once again. David Strid leads Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe, Dominic Hart, Ryan Bowles, and Howard Livingston. It won't be long now before these drivers start to make their final approaches towards the front. But it does look as though if we drop all the way back to Jimmy Drennan, who's actually managed to do a bit of a recovery here today. If we look all the way back to Jimmy Drennan, he has drifted over 3 seconds back from Howard Livingston, so I don't think he's going to be able to catch up. We look back at Mike West. He's battling Dan Ensch for that for that eighth position on track, and Ensch kind of drifting up a little high there mid-corner. But Ensch and West continuing to battle it out. And as you can see, West making that move into turn 3. It actually kind of looks like, let's watch these two for just a moment, but it does look like they are working together, perhaps trying to climb their way back up towards the front. Indeed, West kind of hanging out a little bit wide there on entry and letting Ensch towards the front. And that's exactly what they have to do as we return back to these lead two teammates, David Strid and Graham Bunyan, who are swapping the lead there at the front. If Ensch and Mike West want to catch back up to Jimmy Drennan, they're going to have to work together to get up there. So looking back from David Strid, there you see the blue and black car the 101 machine, a fellow Australian, Graham Bunyan, who now makes the move down to the inside to swap positions yet again. And Jason Lowe back 0.4 of a second. It's going to be looking on now with just 9 laps remaining, trying to figure out where is the spot, when is the time. That's what we want to know. When is the time to go, go, go? Now, one of the most impressive races that we called here on VirtualRacing.Network was back in the day when we were covering the Prime Meridian Racing League, and got to see Thomas Christensen on the very last lap of the race on the backstretch at Fontana, sister track to this track, basically go from 6th place to 1st place and win the race on the backstretch. So you got to time that run just right. But it is very possible that we might see one of these drivers come from 3rd, 4th, possibly even further back to make a slingshot and take victory. But once again, you got to time it just perfectly. And so far, we haven't been seeing any super huge moves like that. It could happen, though. Jason Lowe, Dominic Hart, these drivers really do know how to utilize these cars in the draft. And so as we continue to watch on, just 6 clicks remaining, 5 this time by at the flag stand, as Strid and Bunyan continue to swap that lead at the front. They're trying to pull away. They're trying to manage the front of this race. But so far, Jason Lowe and Dominic Hart have not fallen off. And now we've got Mauro Ramirez back into the pits. Unfortunately, this would be a late stop for him, and this is going to take him out of contention. Also, Jimmy Drennan coming back in, so there's possibly the word that he cannot make it on that undercut strategy. And there you see Bunyan swapping left and right, trying to get by Strid. Strid decides he's going to stay high and let Bunyan by. Things kind of getting a little closer than I think Bunyan would have liked there. Little indecisive action may cost a little bit, but 4 laps remaining here at the iRacing Virtual Michigan International Speedway. You're watching live here, VirtualRacing.Network. David Strid in front of fellow countryman Graham Bunyan. Graham trying to take this victory and cement his 5th consecutive championship. David Strid would love to take the victory and keep Jason Lowe behind him and put more points towards his favor for 2nd place in this championship. And Jason Lowe needs to take as many points as he can if he's going to have a shot at 2nd place in this championship. So all these drivers racing right now for very valuable championship points and, of course, the prestige of winning in the U.S. IndyCar League. Graham Bunyan with 5 victories to his name this season. He'd like to add an even 6th, half of the races to his name before we even get to the final race next week. 2 laps remain as Strid races underneath our drone cameras, and these drivers start to decide when they're going to make their final move. This is it. Just one more time around for David Strid and Graham Bunyan. I'm not sure which one of them is going to choose to try to lead this final lap first, but it looks like Strid is going to go for it. They race side by side. They're not backing off. They're going side by side through the corner, and it looks like Graham Bunyan holding up Jason Lowe on the top side a little bit. Bunyan now holding on the top side of Strid. They race nose to tail. Strid before Bunyan. Strid goes into the 3rd corner and he's holding the lead. Bunyan in 2nd. Will they tango coming to the line? It looks like it's Bunyan possibly at the line. No, it's Strid. David Strid taking victory in a photo finish here at Michigan International So what an amazing race from David Strid. He had problems during the race, had to take a little bit of extra time on pit road, and he made it all up with clever draft usage and strategy. Fantastic run from the Australian driver, who just managed to get Graham Bunyan at the line there, but a very well-deserved victory, and the 3 form up there on the screen for our podium. And what an amazing race it was. Very exciting. A lot of passing throughout. Let's take a look at the final results. And it was, of course, David Strid who takes that victory. So we're going to get a chance here to talk with some of our drivers in our post-race chat here momentarily as they're climbing out of their cockpits. But it was David Strid, Graham Bunyan taking second position, and Jason Lowe completing that podium here in our 11th round of season number 15. Final running order. 4th place goes to Dominic Hart, who had a good solid charge back through the field, gaining 4 spots today. Ryan Bowles will end up in 5th. He's kind of got some head scratching to do. It seemed like he was part of this conversation for the race win, but unfortunately not able to get up there and take a podium position. Howard Livingston coming home 6th in his return to the cockpit, and certainly that bodes well. And as we can see on the track, Graham Bunyan celebrating as he's managed to get that Dallara IR-18 IndyCar into victory lane, Gatorade victory lane here at Michigan International Speedway. He's celebrating his 5th consecutive championship here. We'll continue going through the rest of the running order. 7th went to Mike West, 8th to Dan Ensch, 9th to Iñigo Mardones, 10th to Danny Alt, 11th to Jimmy Drennan, 12th went to Mr. Stickwick, Richard Kelbaugh, 13th, Mauro Ramirez, 14th, Will Stearns, 15th, Rick Lovison, and 16th to Don Reedy. And what an amazing race it was. Of course, as I mentioned, lots and lots of drafting and passing action, but it was kind of a management race here today. We're going to see if we can talk to a couple of these drivers and see if we can have a chat here. I'm thinking maybe we'll get a chance to talk to Jason Lowe as soon as I see him pop off his mic is muted. I'll let you know that Lowe is ready to go. But Jason Lowe taking 3rd spot here today, something that, you know, he gained 7 positions, so that's certainly an accomplishment in itself. But hey, Jason, congratulations, 3rd place here today. Fantastic run. Talk us through what today was like, and how was it to manage to snag a podium position here at Michigan?
Feel real fortunate. Once again, David Strid, the race winner, built us the setup this week, and it was really good. Of course, traffic is always a challenge, the dirty air, but the setup was very adjustable, and I think that's why it was not such a pack race, is that you could make some adjustments and really make a difference with the car. Happy today was my race for Rescue Ranch, Ryan and Chrissy Newman's foundation that rehabilitates wildlife and works toward education for people, for both wildlife and domestic animals. So I'll be making a donation to the Rescue Ranch. And good race, a little bit of fuel mileage, as there always is here. And happy to be on the podium. I believe I just gave up the 2nd place in points to David Strid with his win today, but that's okay. He deserves it. He earned it. And great to see Howard Livingston back with us this week, and congratulations to Graham on his 2nd place.
Absolutely fantastic runs from them, and once again, great to talk to you because you know, not only did you have a fantastic race as well, but bringing that Rescue Ranch awareness to us each and every race. But here specifically, we did get a chance to play the video ahead of time, but for those of you who maybe weren't here for that, as Jason Lowe does mention, Rescue Ranch specializes in humane education programs for youth and families, offering camps, field trips, scout programs, much more. When kids, and of course big kids, attend one of the programs, they get to learn about responsible pet ownership, empathy, compassion for animals, how animals survive in the world, other fun facts about animal ambassadors. Since the inception in 2012, have educated more than 35,000 people through educational programs, and another big part of it is, of course, the sanctuary and permanent residency to more than 80 rescued animals. Animals all have a story to share as they came to the ranch from neglect, hoarding, and owner surrender. Affectionately known as Rescue Ranch's animal ambassadors, an integral component to the education programs, and there's just so much more to learn about, and including a brand new program, which is an adoption program, which helps to place animals who have been brought into the Rescue Ranch into permanent homes. Over 50 animals already finding permanent homes out of that program. So as Jason mentioned, you can head over to rescueranch.com and learn much more, but then also get involved. There's also Dogtoberfest coming up in October. So many fun things to do out there, but also make that donation. Go to rescueranch.com. Donations are how they continue to operate. And once again, Jason, thank you so much for bringing that awareness, and tell us all about Jeep the Kitty, because everybody wants to know how Jeep has been settling in and whether he's still your favorite buddy when you're sim racing.
He's actually kind of mellowed out when I'm racing. He's not on the top of my head or on top of the computer anymore. He's just kind of, as he's gotten a little bit older, he kind of does his own thing. He has one chair that he really favors, and he hangs out there, and he hangs out with my wife. He's kind of turned into my wife's cat. He just prefers her company to mine most times. Once in a while, he still gives me some attention, but he's just decided he likes her style more, I guess. But that's okay. We still interact, and got the other cat and the other dogs, and it's a good time here. We have a good time.
And you do have a good time. We get to see that sometimes over on your Facebook feed, and yeah, it's a lovely thing that you've done there. And of course, it's great to see, this little cat that you found one day, this little kitten that was trapped up inside of the suspension of this Jeep, and all of a sudden, you take him into your loving home, and about what are we now, probably 6 months, 8 months later? It's been a year.
No, it's actually right. It was just a year. Just about a week ago was 1 year.
Oh my goodness. Well, a year later, settling down into his forever home, and that's a perfect example of that kind of a situation and story. And once again, Jason, just so great what you're doing personally, and thanks so much for bringing the Rescue Ranch awareness. And one more race, though, for you to race it out here and maybe get some more points over on Strid. He'd have to have a tough week next week, but hey, it's Indy. Anything can happen, right?
Yeah, I'm over at the Sim Racer Hub right now, but it's not letting me update the points, so I can't give you an update for today. But I'm reasonably sure he overtook me, and also with the drop schedule, I think it's going to benefit him more than me. So I think David's a solid second in the points now. But Indy's a good track, and anything can happen. So we'll just go on to next week and see what we can do. And once again, it was really good to see Howard Livingston back with us today. Looking forward to seeing some other members maybe rejoin next season, some new members join. Got some good things on the horizon. So, and thank you, Trevor, for your excellent presentation today with all the information about Rescue Ranch. Thank you very much.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. We'll see you next week. Good luck, man.
Adios.
So that's Jason Lowe joining us from third on the track. And, just a couple of things while I can mention it. If you're out there and you would like to compete, of course, next season starting up here in just a couple of weeks. So head on over to the description of this video and you'll find a link there. Go ahead and click on through. If you're part of iRacing already, go ahead and apply to the league. And you'll there's some basic license qualifications that you need to get into, but not very much. Very accommodating to lots of drivers. Just want to make sure you're going to be safe out there. So head on over. You can apply to the league, and also for any other drivers or businesses out there that might have an interest in sponsorship here on VirtualRacing.Network alongside of the US IndyCar League, which is soon to be renamed the International IndyCar League. Make sure you send us those inquiries as well. You'll find that description down in the link at the bottom. So now is our chance to talk to who he's actually been, I think, on vacation for a week. but don't tell him that. He usually has this pretty hardcore working schedule. So now we get a chance to talk to our second place finisher, but I think our champion of season 15. It's none other than Graham Bunyan, who joins us here in Victory Lane post-race chat. Hey, Graham, congratulations. Second place today, but first place in the championship. It's got to feel good. You almost got the victory, too.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to give up. I just had to defend off Jason. Was my game, I suppose. Yeah, just giving him arrow push to hold him back there. Yeah, great race, great setup, and holy dooly, I'm sore. But anyway.
You're sore? Oh, yes, indeed. You had your, well, I said vacation, but of course, you're kind of laid up this week after your surgery. How is everything? How are you healing? And was it difficult to get back into the cockpit today?
It wasn't too bad getting in. Just trying to get comfortable in a different position. I had the seat sort of laid back and legs stretched out a bit, and the force feedback turned right down because yeah, any tension on the old abdomen down there, and yeah, it was sort of a bit sore. But no, all good, just a little bit husky.
A little husky, perhaps a little under the weather, and we'll just let that be the reason why you didn't take victory today. But it looked like David Strid had a bit between his teeth. He dropped back. Perhaps he took longer on pit road than was normal. Perhaps he had damage repair. That was my estimation. But he came charging back. He used that draft to get back into this one and then come back through the field, retake over control alongside of yourself there for the lead and hold off Jason Lowe. And then it just looked like he was not going to give this one up today. What was it like racing with David? And did you sense that he was just a man on a mission?
Wow. I think he was on a mission after everything else that's happened to him throughout the season. He deserved a win. He deserved a win last week and a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, he's got this one this time, so he did really well. But yeah, he had a slow pit stop. And I think he worked with Mike to get him back up to the back of the pack there before the yellow came out. But look, overall, great race, great podium. I actually thought I did get him at the line, but that was the lap before.
And they click off quickly, and it was tough to tell whether right there at the line whether or not you were going to get it. We'll let that play out in the background so that the audience can watch as that goes on. But what was the keys to today's race for you? We watched you with one of your pit stops. You managed to get in about 4th or 5th position and come back out in 1st. So would you say that pitting was part of was today's strategy to get you back up there to the front, or what would you say was the key to today?
Well, I didn't really plan to do much at all. I just sort of wanted to sit in the traffic and just go for as long as I could, because I really didn't want to get involved in much, because of course, it puts more stress on the body. But after everything had happened and the yellow came out, and then the next lot of pit cycles went through, and Jason actually come out right in front of me there, and I managed to get past him. I thought, I got to have a fast pit stop. So yeah, it was definitely in the pits. But I think a lot of people were trying to save that crucial number, and I don't think anyone was really going to get to it today. It was just a little bit too far out of reach. It was there, but not there.
Well, that's how close you were, but you won't need those extra points either, as, of course, you basically had enough that you could have just started and parked here today. But nevertheless, it's got to feel good, though, to take second place and right behind your teammate. Side-by-side photo finish. He gets the win. You take the championship, and we saw you celebrate there at Victory Lane. Hey, you've had a rough week. You do have a week off, a couple of weeks off to relax and hopefully...
6 weeks, yes.
I wasn't going to say the full 6 weeks. So many people are going to be jealous of that. But nevertheless, yeah, a lot of recovery to do. And then, as we know, with your working schedule, it's just right back into it. And you have such a hardcore get up and work for like 18 hours straight and then straight to sleep and back up again. But that's what we get every Sunday out of you, Graham, and we love it when you show up and race hard. And you did it here today. 5-time straight champion here, and what a way to go out. The final champion of the U.S. IndyCar League before it gets recrowned to International IndyCar League. And since we won't have a chance to chat with Mr. Strid, why don't you just let us know what it means to take second place, take your 5th straight victory, your 5th straight championship, and what it's been like racing in the US IndyCar League.
Look, it's been a pleasure to race here, and I've been lucky to be able to be a part of this group of great guys. We've had our ups and downs, and we all have had words at some point in the seasons that have been and gone and passed, and maybe words later on down the track. I don't know, but no, look, it's been good. I had to get in a little sneaky celebration there. I had to get on that checkered flag down there in front of the Gatorade, is it? Something like that. But no, it's been great. Jason does a great job week in, week out, and Richard for bringing on the the Stick Quick, and everybody who brings along sponsors as well. And I think this one was by Rescue Ranch. I don't know much about that, but again, excuse my ignorance for being Australian. We don't know too much about all that stuff over there, other than the bad stuff.
Well, of course, I've been watching the Irwins and the zoo that you guys have down there near you, the great rescue facility out there that people can watch over the internet streaming. And Ryan Newman, racer in NASCAR over here in the United States, starting with his wife Chrissy Newman, the Rescue Ranch. Anyway, you can go back and watch it. Fun stuff, great stuff people are doing around the world to help out animals and raise awareness and keep things pointed in the right direction. And in the meantime, Graham, you've done an amazing job. Congratulations here today. Fantastic victory and or fantastic second place and fantastic championship that you've taken here. Hey, buddy, we'll see you next week at Indy, and maybe you got a chance at victory there. But either way, I hope your recovery continues to go well. And thanks for coming out here every Sunday and putting on a heck of a show.
Nah, no worries, and thanks for everything you do. And I don't know if you noticed, but Danny actually raced, and he finished 10th.
He did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Danny Alt we're referring to, and that's because he usually just shows up and he runs some laps in practice and then parks it. But yes, indeed, we did get Danny Alt out there, and that was fantastic. Graham Bunyan, your 5-time consecutive champion here in the US IndyCar League. And we'll see him next week. Congratulations. Good luck next week, man.
Thanks, mate. See you next week, and see everybody else. Bye.
So that was Graham Bunyan, and so we're going to close this one up. It was a heck of a run here today at Michigan. What a lot of fun. Congratulations to David Strid, who takes victory and did his celebration donuts in a couple of different places here you can see on screen. Fantastic win for a guy who's been battling a lot of adversity this season, but the number 48 taking victory, second place to Graham Bunyan and the 5th consecutive championship, and Jason Lowe brings it home in 3rd, but he's going to have to try real hard next week to take 2nd in the championship. So on behalf of myself, Trevor Greenfield, VirtualRacing.Network, and all of the competitors in the US IndyCar League, this has been a production of the VirtualRacing.Network and the US IndyCar League, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you next time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, next Sunday. Be here for the final race of Season 15, the Care Camps 250. On behalf of Rescue Ranch, bye-bye, everybody.